We have a seventh tradition that states every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions, so we'll see that the basket makes its way around. This is a weekly STEP meeting. Our format is as follows. A speaker is asked to talk for 25 to 30 minutes on the STEP of that week, followed by discussion or questions until 7 p.m. You can find these weekly STEP meetings on our YouTube page, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and share. And that brings us to the speaker portion of the meeting on this day of April 1st, 2024 in Doylestown, PA at the Monday night, 6 p.m. Stay Alive Literature and Step Group at St. Paul's Lutheran Church. Tonight's speaker is Chris, and Chris is going to be sharing his experience on Step 10. Please help me welcome Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm an alcoholic. My sober date is 3/26/23. I have a sponsor. If he's aware, he's my sponsor. If he is not aware, then I am very thoroughly annoying him daily. This is my home group, so there's that. Should a little qualify myself. I was adopted at birth. That did not really have an effect on me other than the fact that I was adopted from Ireland. Seemed to have the Irish curse, just runs through me. First drink was probably when I was 12 years old. And from that day, I honestly thought that drinking was like trying to get as much as you possibly could in your system without dying and continuing to do that. And I thought everybody else drank like that. I was, just that person that truly believed that's how you're supposed to do it. Like, that was what I thought it was like. I also believed that everybody else had constant cravings in their mind on a daily basis. I would always be thinking about when was the next drink, drug, whatever I was doing at that time. And then at one point in my younger life, I remember being like, I can control myself with dry alcohol, so I'm going to stick with that. And then I turned 21, and I thought, well, little kids do that dry alcohol stuff. I'm going to be a man and drink whiskey. And then everything started going downhill. Not that it was going great before that either, but, I'd keep it short with the whole, piece. I'd rather speak more on Step 10 and the solution than war stories. I'd always been... I always say I'd always been smart enough to, duck the law, do everything illegal possible and get away with it. And that really stopped when I started drinking. I can honestly say within 3 weeks of my 21st birthday, I was getting arrested. And within 4 months, I had 20 drunken publics, which the judge was nice enough to throw out, because when he was like, how do you collect this many on the same road and still keep walking on the same road? And my exact answer is because I didn't want to drink and drive, and I lived down the street. So I was walking from the bar to my apartment. And he was like, well, I can't really charge you with this. So he kept one, 'cause they wanted money. But, there were other charges involved as well. They had lost me. I got arrested over a holiday weekend, and I was supposed to be in MCC, and instead they took me to Dauphin County. So they didn't even know where I was. It took them 5 days to find me, and they finally brought me over to the Doylestown courthouse, and were thoroughly angry that they had to drop the charges because the bartender showed up and said I didn't throw the first punch. And God was with me even back then. I mean, the guy that I ended up beating up was an off-duty police officer, so I'm not surprised that they lost me. And even back then I was angry with God. I didn't believe in... I grew up in a Catholic family, going to church. I didn't have that whole experience like I've heard other people being like God would smite them or anything like that. I remember when a priest tried telling me that, my dad had pulled me aside and was like, don't listen to a thing that guy has to say. And he was like, God wants you to be a good person. Just go with that. Any of the other stuff of like anger and torture and any of that because you do something bad, like, no, he's going to forgive you. So I was lucky enough to believe that, and still didn't follow it. I was very much a naysayer for a very long time, considered myself an atheist. And today I do not. I mean, my heart has stopped enough times from drugs, alcohol, stupid incidents. There's a reason for me to be here, and if I were to sit here and tell you that there was no God, I'd be lying, because there's no way I should be walking. But I am, and I breathe every day, and the program has very much saved me in the fact of, there's only so many times you can get away with that before even, God probably is going to sit there and be like, dude, give up. Like, you're just going to keep doing the same thing. And I was lucky enough to fall in with good people and start working steps. So when I first got sober, of course it wasn't, I'd gotten sober when my daughter was born when I was 23. And I didn't really get sober, I just abstained. I went to the wrong meetings, I still hung around the wrong people, I still did all the wrong things and made all the wrong moves because I was doing what I wanted to do, and justifying it for every single thing I did. And I abstained for a good 10 years from alcohol. I smoked a lot of dry goods. Started working hard. I just kind of filled in the time with metal shops, anything I could really make money and just focus on that. Some points I was working 3 to 4 jobs at a time. Was not working a program. And I remember specifically staying sober at one point in anger at a meeting I had gone to, because I had brought somebody to that meeting, and one of the people went up to them and started really pushing stuff down their throat, being like, do you want what I got? Are you going to stay sober? And they were like, no, and they went out and died. And I remember them telling me a week later, same person, being like, you're going to end up the same way. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm not. And I'm not going to do what you're doing. And that was probably one of the worst things I could have done, because realistically, being a drunk without a drink, I will tell you that my years of dry goods and alcohol were a lot better than my years without a program. I was the angriest person you could ever meet. And again, I was justifying all of it. If I did you wrong, you deserved it. You had done something to me in my mind that probably didn't even happen. And it was good enough for me to, if you were in my way, you were getting run over. It was as simple as that. And that was just how I lived. I would say what I wanted to say and called it the truth. But the reality was, it was just how I perceived it. And that perception was always negative. It was always the worst thing possible. Almost some of the times just to be like, ha, I told you. And just throw it back in someone's face. I got married. Screwed that up pretty easily, as a good alcoholic would. And it really came into the rooms because it was kind of the last legs of the marriage, being like, either you got to try something different or we're done. We were done anyway, but that didn't matter. And I tried it out, and I fell right into it. I was lucky enough to be here on a Saturday night that one of the speakers was very much pushing to find a sponsor immediately and jump right into the steps and jump right into the bookwork. And that is something I had never done. And it was the best advice I had ever received, because everything's been good since then. I can sit here and tell you that after all of those years, my relapse of, because my mother-in-law passed away at the time or my mentor passed away at the time was a great reason, but the reality is I'm an alcoholic. It was just reasoning. It was just sitting there in the back of my brain, and it gave me the excuse to run right for it. And I'd picked out a sponsor that, was everything I was not. They were calm, they were cool, they were collected, and they were spiritual. And I was none of these things. And I still completely believed that I was. It became very eye-opening and very quickly, that you're fog-minded for good 3 to 4 months. Mine was a little longer. When I finally started seeing like all the damage that I had done, like it had already been too late, and that's okay. Like the second I started praying for things, the first thing that I was taught was stop praying for things, because my prayers before would be like, I want a Dodge Charger, I want an old Playmate, like whatever, just something that I did not absolutely need, and was taught that I needed to pray for other people other than myself and just be thankful that I'm alive, breathing, and walking. And that's literally how I start out my prayer every morning, is the fact that I am alive and that daisies are not growing above me. How that's possible is beyond me, and I am grateful for that. And one of the first things they said was that I need to start praying for my daughter's mom, because I absolutely, I can still say I don't really quite like her that much. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And within 2-3 days, I was. And then the phone call stopped. So, it worked. So I'm good. And when I started praying for everybody else that was around me, a lot of people started leaving. And that's when I kind of came to the realization, like, they weren't meant to be there. And, like, I had caused so much damage to them before. It didn't matter how good I was doing or what I was doing. This is how it was supposed to be. Because a lot of those people, there was probably 75% over here being family, close friends being like, dude, you're doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. The other side being like, you are worse than ever. And kind of come to that realization. This side over here, they wanted to fix you. They only kept you around because there was something for them to fix. And when you start fixing yourself, they have to look at themselves. And they don't want to do that. And they will end up going to find something else to fix. Or I just pissed them off enough, and that's okay too. And I've been living great ever since. Now, we're here today for the 10th step, which, you'll always hear a lot of people say, this one's the bread and butter, this one's the bread and butter. They're all the bread and butter. Do them all. And every single one works. The 10th is more like everything from 1 to 9 daily, all day. Before I was very much before really working step 10, I was very much a person that I would just jump to a conclusion and go with it and insert my will and run with it and completely think it was justified anything I did. Whereas 10 made me stop, look, and listen and pray on it. And really just do what's right. Because there's a million times I've stopped and been like, this is what I want to do. When I think about it, and I think about if it's right or if it's righteous, a lot of the time I'll come out to find it is not. And it's not the right thing to do, and it's selfish. So I don't do it. I literally have a motto in my brain like, hey, whatever you're thinking of doing, do the opposite. And I will be telling myself this all day long. And the 10th step is a very big part of that, helping me figure out what I got to do. There's other times I'll tell people when they want, my work can be very fast-paced. They want an answer right away. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe we need to let this play out and see how that goes, because I don't have an answer at this moment. Nothing's coming to head. And honestly, what I got's not good anyway. So, and that's worked out as well, too. The other piece with step 10 is, it's really kept me humble, very much open. Like the second I need to apologize for something, I'm still not good at apologizing right away. I'll wait till late night. I'm sure there's a million people like, man, Chris sent me a text at 10 o'clock apologizing for something I don't even care about. And, but at the same time, it's playing in my mind, and it's really just, eating at me. And, some of them are just like, dude, it's all good, go to bed. And that's usually the response I get. Or like, oh no, it's all good. And it's like, well, I still got to keep myself accountable for my actions, what I say, what I do. And it really, has helped me just kind of realize what the right things are. And it's also kind of made me leery about just doing certain things or like moving a certain way, to if it's my will. Because that's always gotten me in trouble. It's gotten me arrested. I've ended up in hospital beds, handcuffs, sanitariums, and freaking prisons. Like, those are the only things that any of my will has ever wanted for me. To the point that I've come to the conclusion my will wants me dead, whether I like it or not. And someone had brought up in a meeting not too long ago, asking everybody, like, have they ever had suicidal thoughts? And a lot of the people were like, no. And they're like, actually, you have. If you thought about drinking, you're killing yourself slowly. And I started thinking, I never thought about it like that. I mean, I've had it on both ends, but still, like that, it was really relatable, and that was very much how my drinking was. It was very much I drank until I turned blue, had to get my stomach pumped. There was no stopping. That whole aspect of, not knowing when your last one was. Mine was always thinking about, like, I don't want to know when the last one is. And I'd go on binges and then stay away for the simple fact of, like, dude, when you turned blue on the kitchen floor, like, kind of a little too sick the next 2-3 days to do anything, not even go to work. So, anyways, I am going to read to you guys from, this one's the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Just the stuff that really, like, stuck out to me for Step 10. When a drunk has a terrific hangover because he drank heavily yesterday, he cannot live well today. But there is another kind of hangover which we all experience whether we are drinking or not. That is the emotional hangover, the direct result of yesterday's and sometimes today's excesses of negative emotion. Anger, fear, jealousy, and the like. If we would live serenely today and tomorrow, we certainly need to eliminate these hangovers. This doesn't mean we need to wander morbidly around in the past. It requires an admission and correction of errors now. Our inventory enables us to settle with the past. When this is done, we are really able to leave it behind us. When our inventory is carefully taken and we have made peace with ourselves, the conviction follows that tomorrow's challenges can be met as they come. And that's really what stuck out with me. First page, I didn't really have too much time to go over it. I got called 4 hours ago to speak. So, mainly like the piece of like the anger, fear, jealousy, and the like. A lot of those would be the reasons. Like as I said, I would drink at people. So a lot of it would be over anger, fear, and jealousy. Even if I'd say I wasn't a jealous person, but it was back there, and that stuff still crops up. So to me, that's like a lot of the triggers, as people would call it. If I can feel that anger, that fear, I can't even really say feel jealousy at this point. Mainly due to like just accept things as they come. I've always been hardworking, so like if I want it, I can get it. And at this point, I don't want anything. I've got everything I need. But if I feel the anger and the fear really taking over and the anxiety, I will find myself having to step away. I will go somewhere, pray, call my sponsor, call another alcoholic. Through any of the hardships that I've been through in the last year, I'd say the biggest piece is really just reaching out to other people. That has let me let go of the anger and the fear. Helping another alcoholic is, really the true bread and butter of everything. It'll keep you out of yourself to the point that, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone else, but I can speak for me. I will catastrophize the smallest thing in my brain. And by the time I've helped somebody else, I've come to the realization it's really not that bad, and I can get through it and just move on with my life. The next one is, this thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the Spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. I think I just covered that. So, that's that piece with it. With 8 and 9, you really made a lot of the amends. I don't know about everyone else, but I'd say about 50% of my step 4 was in my 8 or 9s. Sadly, a lot of the people that I had definitely done wrong aren't with us anymore, so that was a little bit harder and or easier to pray on it, things of that nature. But with 10, it's kind of making sure you don't have to do any more 8 and 9s. They're not, I found them fun. I remember coming in the program for 8 and 9 being like, I'm going to skip that. That's not happening. I will not do that. And I was dumb enough not to look at 4 and 5 because I darn near even almost pooped my pants. I had to watch my language there, sorry. Because I was not expecting to sit there and really look at all this, because I always had taken it like, I always had a low self-esteem issue thinking I wasn't a great person, but I really did not know how bad and all the bad things that I had truly done. And that very much opened my eyes. So I've heard some people being like, I felt great afterward. I had 2 weeks of feeling like dumpster trash, just did not feel like doing anything. It was very awakening, and I am very thankful for that process because it let me know with step 10 not to be like that. And it's constantly a reminder to me. I could either do what I want to do, or I could do the right thing. The old me, that's what I want to do. So I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to pick and choose to do the right thing. That's really all I got.
Thank you very much, Chris. So now we'll open up the meeting for sharing. Please limit your sharing to 3 minutes. Please keep your shares related to the step. If you feel like drinking or if you've had a drink today, please see me or speak to someone after the meeting. We ask you please refrain from the use of profanity as we are in a church and on a spiritual journey. But with that, I will open up the meeting for discussion.